Hi. Official recaps here.
The film begins with sketches of a young man named Christopher Robin, walking through the 100-acre wood, when he came across a group of unusual adolescent creatures who appeared to be half-human. Despite their menacing appearances, the naive young Christopher ignored the dangers and befriended them all. They introduced themselves as Eeyore, Owl, Rabbit, Piglet, and most importantly, Winnie the Pooh. With each day they spent together, the young Christopher started bringing them food, and their relationship became closer. The animals began behaving more like people, even requesting Chris to bring them food. After years of friendship, Christopher stopped coming because he felt horrible for the creatures when he had to grow up and leave his buddies to attend college to become a doctor. The creatures became extremely hungry without Christopher nearby to provide food or direction, and when winter arrived, they were forced to eat one of their own, Eeyore, in order to survive. They were so severely affected by this that they began to despise people in general and Christopher in particular for leaving them. They promised to give up being human, revert to their animal instincts, and remain silent always. Moving on, Christopher visits the 100-acre wood 5 years later to catch up with his old buddies. He is accompanied by his fiancée, Mary. Mary gives him a sympathetic glare, admitting she doesn't completely buy his stories, and dismisses his animal companions as an invention. When Chris and Mary discover the creature's location, they discover it to be in a deserted state. Mary urges them to leave since she is so terrified, but Chris reassures her that his pals aren't a danger. Mary notices a skull as they stroll around, but Chris doesn't pay any attention to Eeyore's tomb. Together, the two approach Chris's former home where the animals are located and enter. Chris begins to question his old pals when Mary notices a damaged drawing of him. A voice suddenly warns them. The two go away as soon as it gets dark. The creature is found snoring on the bed, so Mary and Chris take advantage of the situation and run out the door. Unfortunately, Piglet sneaks up on Mary and fastens a metal chain around her neck. Chris flees into hiding after discovering his future wife dead. When Chris notices Pooh unexpectedly approaching him, he tries to bring up their shared childhood memories with Pooh. Soon after, Piglet enters the room from the opposite side, putting Chris in the way of Pooh. Chris never emerged from the woods again, and he now realizes that his friends aren't what they used to be. Reporters issue a dire warning to the public to avoid 100-acre woods after hearing reports of inexplicable disappearances in the area. Maria, a new character who is later featured in the film, is counseled by her therapist to take a break from the hectic outside world. Maria and her pals choose to go on a retreat in the woods after considering the experts' recommendations. But little do they realize that the cabin they pick for a vacation is situated in the 100-acre wood, a deplorable location to stay. When the party of college students arrives at the large cottage, they are astounded, especially since it has a pool. Jessica begs her pals to give her their phones as soon as they arrive at the villa because using them would defeat the point of the retreat. The girls then talk about how Tina, one of their pals, never shows up on time or cancels last-minute plans. Tina pulls over in front of the 100-acre woods sign and calls her friends for directions in the meanwhile. Tina enters the woods after she doesn't hear back from them. Then, out of nowhere, Winnie the Pooh appears, sending Tina running furiously in the direction of an abandoned garage. Tina emerges from hiding when it is safe to do so. She screams in despair as the bloodthirsty bear snatches her and repeatedly bangs her head on the wood chipper when she turns around. Tina is killed by Pooh, who dismembers her body and grinds her up in the wood chipper. After settling in at the villa, Maria confides in her friends about her run-in with a perverted stalker and how the experience left her permanently damaged. When Maria says that she is feeling much better, her pals cheer her on and grin at her. At Pooh's hideaway, Christopher is found bound to a ceiling, reminding Pooh of his happy boyhood. When Christopher was a small boy, he called Pooh his best friend and vowed never to leave him. He feels a wave of sadness that rapidly changes into rage. Christopher receives a backlash from Pooh for his treachery. Christopher cries out in agony as Pooh sets Mary's skull in front of him to further torment him. Later that night, as the crazy Pooh is out for a stroll through the woods, he hears loud music coming from the girls' cottage. At the same time, Laura takes selfies for The Simpsons on her Instagram while having fun in a jacuzzi tub. Laura keeps enjoying herself in the tub without realizing that Piglet and Pooh are quietly intruding. Laura finds herself bound, with Piglet standing next to her and Pooh cranking the car's motor, when she opens her eyes. She cries out in desperation for life, but Piglet simply gives Pooh the go-ahead to crush her head. After hearing Laura scream, Alice and Zoe dash to check on their friend, while Maria and Jessica dash outside and discover the car door wide open, where the girls discover Laura's severed head. The girls gather around in a state of extreme fear and discover a message written in blood on their glass doors. The girls are abruptly made aware of an intruder's presence by the sound of glass breaking in the distance. They cautiously investigate the sounds, and when they do, the terrified girls discover Pooh standing outside with a large knife. Pooh surrounds the cabin and turns off the electricity, prompting Zoe and Alice to enter the kitchen and arm themselves as Maria assumes the intruder is her stalker. She is reassured that the intruder is not her stalker when Zoe and Alice come back. Maria realizes she brought a gun at this point, but as she and Jessica walk to get it, the group of four unintentionally splits into two. To close the back door, however, Zoe and Alice had made it to the pool inside the home. However, Zoe advises Alice to flee if anything were to happen. Piglet suddenly emerges, knocks Alice out cold, and then proceeds to attack her with his hammer. However, Zoe is able to divert Piglet's attention to her. He dives into the sea and lunges for Zoe with his hammer. The anguish of seeing Piglet kill her friend as Alice regains consciousness makes her faint once more. The horrifying image of Zoe's lifeless body floating in the water is soon discovered by Jessica and Maria, who then watch in horror as Piglet and Pooh are seen carrying Alice. To discover out where the bloodthirsty creatures are taking Alice, Jessica and Maria then make the decision to follow them. After that, Winnie the Psycho Pooh is munching on fresh honey from the pot when Alice is discovered bound with a rope at the Devil's Den. Winnie approaches Alice and does this as soon as he notices that she is once more awake. Later, when Jessica and Maria discover that the waters are calm, they rush to assist Alice in leaving her limits. When Maria and the girls hear a loud yell as they are leaving, they immediately stop what they are doing and remind Jessica and Alice that they shouldn't leave anyone behind. They discover Christopher hanging from the hook inside the rundown cottage. Chris suddenly gets to his feet and begs Maria for assistance as Maria moves cautiously near Chris's unconscious body. When the girls investigate the source of the excruciating screams, they discover a severely hurt woman who is bound with ropes. The woman responds that Pooh and Piglet were her abusers when Jessica inquires about them. She explains to them that although the pig and the bear are able to converse, although in stuttering English, they prefer to work in silence. The girls assist the woman in breaking free after assisting her to do so. But as they proceed outside, the woman encounters a mirrored building, and as she turns to look at her severely disfigured face, she screams in despair. And to prolong the narrative, she vows to exact revenge by killing the creatures who attacked Maria. For their own safety, Jessica, Maria, and Alice decide to hide. When Piglet the monster finally appears, he agrees to the ruleless one-on-one challenge. Unfortunately, the gun is empty as she attempts to fire, so the woman backs up just to collide with Pooh. Pooh throws the woman to the ground and then applies honey to her face. Piglet then settles down to eat her face. The girls then decide to leave, but Alice spots a hammer and takes advantage of the opportunity to attack Piglet. Maria and Jessica are pursued into the forest by Pooh after they lose track of Alice. We observe Piglet being held captive by Alice in the meanwhile. She gives the monster a slap to rouse him up and promises to see to it that he is held accountable for his misdeeds. Unfortunately, Pooh attacks Alice and kills her with his machete after smashing Piglet to death. The bear then keeps looking for more human blood. After some time spent running, Maria and Jessica come across a car headed in their direction. The girls tell the hillbillies everything when they step out of the automobile, which makes the guys question their sobriety. The men decide to chase down the monster after watching Pooh with interest while hiding in the car. Logan strikes Pooh hard in the face as the four men surround him and approach him brandishing guns. Logan tells his boys to mount a coordinated assault, but they are shocked to see Pooh unaltered. They were horrified to see Pooh still going strong. Now when he's had enough, it's his turn to eliminate them. When Maria notices Pooh getting closer to the car, she starts the vehicle and hits him. Maria, who has smacked her head on the steering wheel, is powerless to stop Pooh from dragging Jessica from the vehicle. He then proceeds to show her Jessica's severed head. Maria tries desperately to keep Pooh away from her out of panic, but in the end he succeeds in doing so. Fortunately, Christopher appears from behind and slams his car into Pooh just as he is about to stab Maria to death with his knife, saving Maria. Chris runs outside to assist Maria when he discovers Pooh wedged between the vehicles. However, Pooh awakens as he is assisting the girl in standing up. He moves the car aside and grabs his knife. The beast then takes Maria by the hair as Chris again begs him to put an end to his vengeful retaliation. He further instructs Pooh to save her, vowing to live in the 100-acre wood with him forever in exchange. When Pooh hears this, he first lowers his knife gradually before telling Christopher and slitting Maria's throat. Traumatized Christopher understands his old companion is now helpless after witnessing her die in his arms, and he watches Pooh attack her body repeatedly. The film ends as Chris runs off in the woods, raising the specter of future terror from Pooh.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.